Good afternoon, everyone. It's about 2 minutes after 1. My name is Luke Stowe. I'm the Digital Services Coordinator for the City of Evanston. And thank you for joining us today on this special Evanston Edge social media webinar. We're going to wait just 1 second here to see if a few more people come on. We've got a good group already. While we're waiting for the last folks to go ahead and join us, I want to introduce Elaine Kemna-Irish. She is the Executive Director of the Evanston Chamber of Commerce. And with that, I'll turn it over to Elaine.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to introduce this social media webinar for businesses. The Chamber is a business like yours and has to continue to find ways to improve sharing our message among our members and the community. So our members and your business needs to do the same for your clients or customers. So I have a couple of important facts I wanted to share before we move on to the webinar, and that is you need to remember that the majority of your clients and customers are using their phone or tablet now to access information on a daily, even hourly basis. So you need to make social media a key component in your business marketing plan. And for example, our members can post any event or announcement on our Facebook and Twitter accounts at any time, so we're kind of sharing their information for them. So that's getting the word out to even more people. Another important fact I wanted to share was that you need to have a responsive website that features your social media links on it. And you can even put your social media links in your email so that every person you're contacting in that way will have it. That way, the other thing about the responsive website is it needs to be easily read on the phone or a tablet. So if you can just remember those two key important facts, I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan Williams-Kinzel, the ICMA Local Government Management Fellow at the City of Evanston's Economic Development Division. And I'm going to be here with you learning more because you can't learn enough about social media. So thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Elaine, again for that great introduction. My name is Jonathan Williams-Kinzel. I'm currently ICMA Fellow with the City of Evanston, working in the Economic Development Division. We're glad to have you on, and I just want to give you, before we get into the heart of the presentation today, a brief overview of the services the Economic Development Division provides and ways we may be able to help you. All right, so the first page, which is our main page, is Evanston Edge. EvanstonEdge.com is our main economic development website. We do a lot of blog covers, any events we announce on that page, press releases that come out about businesses being open, statistics, available properties. Everything is on this site, but we love to feature businesses on this site and business stories. So if you visit the link, to be able to get featured, you can submit a form in there, tell us about your business, what events coming up, and we feature it on our Facebook pages, our website, do a story, and we talk more about it. Primarily, our main page that we do any instant updates about what's going on in the community is Facebook. Facebook obviously has the largest audience of all audiences, and we like it a lot because it's colorful. We get pictures, we can get conversations going with citizens and different events going on. We can definitely have great conversations. We average about 417 likes per post, so while that's not really big for our size of what we do, that's kind of a lot of likes per post. Please take your time to visit our Facebook page at the link and to learn more about our page and share anything you would like on that page as far as events coming up, any sales. Stumble and Relish had a sale a few weeks ago, and they actually had one this past weekend, and we featured different sales that they do, and this sale was one of them. Our Twitter page, we definitely traffic this page a lot. We use HootSuite as one of our methods. Luke's going to talk about a little bit more about that later, but we go through and we track things that are going on in the community, repost different conversations that are relating to businesses and business development in our community, economic development, different sales, maybe a lunch that day looks really good. even down to part-time hiring for one of our Evanston businesses. Lolly's actually looking for a part-time uh, employee, so that's something that we put on our page actually as of yesterday. We have about 412 followers, so we're consistently growing, and we really look to enhance this page and continue to gain our following base and to put interesting stories and articles and things on this page as it goes. Pinterest. We've actually just started our Pinterest page under the City of Evanston. We have a specifically economic development page itself that we pin on, and Pinterest is great for retailers and any shopping or like projects that retailers are doing or businesses are doing is great because we can pin your picture and we can geotag it so that anybody that has a Pinterest page can go and look at it and actually see where that sale is or where the actual event's taking place, and you all can go to that, or a resident can actually go to that. So we think this is like the greatest thing ever, and we're starting to really try to leverage it for our Evanston businesses. Instagram, Economic Development does not have an Instagram page, but the City of Evanston does, and there's some great things that are going on the Instagram page. For example, the picture that you see now is the opening of Peckish Pig. So as you see, there's a picture of activity at Peckish Pig. People are eating, enjoying themselves. There's a little conversation in the corner. A resident talks about how they like the kale burger there, and there's a conversation. So just think about the instant business that happens from a conversation from a specialty product or item or food or an event going on in that conversation, that dialogue. It helps sell your business, and this is something that we try to help promote. So if you have an Instagram page, take a picture, put a hashtag at City of Evanston or put at City of Evanston so we see it, we'll repost it, and help drive traffic to whatever event or sale or business is going on into your page. I just want to talk briefly before we turn it over to Luke about some of our business promotion programs. One that we just started was Evanston Get Your Business Online. We partner with Google, and Google provides small businesses with 1 year free for a custom domain name, web hosting, and any educational resources, so you can start your website for free as a small business for 1 year. They help you. So we are just in the infancy of that, and we're starting to ramp that up. You'll hear more about that, and we're going to start putting the resources on Evanston Edge, and also working with the partners with Google to help get them out here and to help do different resource educationals and things like that with the community. The last thing that we've just started and we're really seeing great success with is our Celebrate Your Business Birthday program. It's a business recognition program, and basically you just go on to this form, which is a WUFU form, fill it out, and put in the date when you start your business, anything examples, and we track those now. So when we go into our newsletters, we're going to say who's celebrating what anniversary, how many years it is, if it's 5, 10, maybe doing a story on them. 25 years, getting a proclamation with the mayor. But it's a really easy way for us to track how long businesses are staying in the community and recognize them for all their hard work and their success. So I encourage you to go on there and fill out that form. I definitely want to thank you for your time, and we're getting ready to get into the heart of the webinar, so I'm going to transfer you over to Luke Stowe, and he will be able to facilitate the rest of the webinar.
Okay, thanks, Jonathan. That was great. One of the best parts of our job is being able to share the great things that happen at Evanston all the time, and especially on social media, we've found that the most popular things, or most of the most popular things that we share on social media, tend to be economic development related, whether it's a new store opening, a new restaurant, a new bar, microbrewery coming to town. There's some cases where we'll look at some of our analytics, and some of our regular stuff may only get 10 or 20 clicks, and then we'll talk about it. Maybe that's the Peckish Pig coming to town, and we'll see over 300 clicks. So people really do enjoy that, and so we strongly encourage you to take advantage of the great things that the Economic Development Department is doing on their Evanston Edge website, Facebook, and Twitter, and so forth. In many cases, we work together too. So I work on another team here in the city, and we we oversee the main city Twitter, Facebook accounts, and in many cases, a lot of our content is stuff that comes from the Evanston Edge or from the Economic Development Division. So we're happy to share that content. And then sometimes also the Chamber of Commerce and downtown Evanston, we'd love to be able to share content on different platforms. So with that, let's jump in a little bit further into our presentation. The multi-channel challenge, and this is really truly the biggest challenge that small businesses are facing right now is there's so many different methods that people are using to communicate now, whether it's SMS texting, email, blogs, websites, social media, and I think probably the most important part that we need to remember is I think most of these channels are here to stay, and will they continue to evolve? For sure. And even email, if you look at email's 30 plus years old. And it's still very effective today. Sometimes I complain that I get too much email, both personally and professionally, but the reality is it's still a critical way for people to communicate, and I don't see any of the other methods, especially social. Social is definitely evolving rapidly, but I don't think social is going away anytime soon. So let's talk just briefly about blogging. More recently, we've always had a city blog on our city website, but sometimes it doesn't always get the highest amounts of traffic. So now we're shifting our strategy a little bit, and we're leveraging the popular blogging platform Tumblr, and we also use WordPress. And WordPress has really evolved. WordPress got its start 10 years ago as a blogging platform, but it's truly evolved into a CMS, or a content management system. So you can actually use it to manage all aspects of your website. And some of our what we call microsites, like the Evanston Arts Buzz, Evanston Green Buzz, Young Evanston, and some of our other websites, we actually use WordPress to power those websites. But we also are starting to use Tumblr more now for, one example here is the Evanston Police Department. They have a newer feature we've been doing for a few months now where an Evanston resident joins the police department at their weekly deployment meetings, and it's kind of a behind-the-scenes look at what goes on that the average resident might not always see or hear about some of the community policing and the strategies behind the scenes that the police are employing. And then also helps to dispel some of those myths or answer some of those frequently asked questions that the average resident or citizen might have. So I encourage you to check it out. This is located at evanstonpd.tumblr.com, and we're also going to be integrating it further into our website. But as you can see, it's very visual, interesting. It doesn't have to be all text. And I think even though blogging is 10 plus years old now, I think it's evolved a little bit, but it's definitely here to stay, and it's great if you have a blog, or if you think you might get into a blog. It's great for, if nothing else, search engine optimization, or SEO. It's really helpful for that. And if you look at most of the major, whether it's Fortune 1000 brands or up-and-coming Web 2.0 companies, if you look at their websites, most of them do make great use of blogs. Email. So definitely email is definitely as important to us as it's ever been. For example, on our main weekly e-newsletter that goes out to citizens and residents, we have over 35,000 subscribers, which if you think about that, that's half the size of the population of Evanston. So we use a program called GovDelivery, and one of the things we like about GovDelivery is that it also is able to manage not only the email bulletins that we send out, but also SMS text messages as well. Now that product is geared for government, but there's definitely lots of other great products out there available for small businesses like GetResponse, Constant Contact, MailChimp, and Aweber, just to name a few. There's literally dozens, but those are four of the most prominent. I've used 3 or 4 of those, and I have found both reasonably priced and actually pretty powerful. And so I would definitely encourage you, if you don't have an email list, you definitely want to get one going for sure. You can sign up on your website and capture email addresses, or capture people. If you have in-person customers, you want to capture email addresses that way and build up your email list. And then there's also ways that you can actually take your email list and import it into Facebook. So if you have a Facebook page and you want to take your email list and then encourage that group to find you on Facebook, you can do that through Facebook. SMS texting, as I mentioned before, we do use GovDelivery for handling our SMS texting, but there's also several companies out there if you want to do something separate from email and focus on SMS texting. One of the great things about texting is that it has really good organic reach, and so meaning when you send a text message, there's a very high probability that people are not only going to see the text but also read the text, and then you can also include links in your text message, and there's no shortage of obviously mobile devices now. So one of the companies is Tatango. That's one of the older companies in this space, but there's several more that have popped up in recent years. And then we're also looking at a company called ZipWhip. And what ZipWhip does is kind of interesting. They have two packages, and one starts like at $20 a month, but we're experimenting with here is the ability to take, if you have a landline phone, you can take that landline phone and basically turn it into a texting device. So especially if you have maybe a personal cell that you only want to use for personal SMS texting, this gives you the ability to take that landline commercial phone or that store phone that you're using and then basically be able to text people. And the cool thing is they have a mobile app that you can answer people from your mobile app, a desktop app, and also a web-based app. So wherever you are, whether you're on the go with your mobile device or you're at a desktop, and if someone sends you a text message through that landline phone, you can answer it using that product ZipWhip. And there's another company called OneReach that's also experimenting in that space too. Website, I think Elaine touched on this a little bit. The web presence is still really, really important, and one of the biggest challenges, and I think that's my next slide here, is many websites, especially small business websites. The last I saw, it was 60 to 70% of small business websites are still not mobile optimized or utilizing responsive design. And responsive design means that the website configures to your device, whether you're on a tablet, Android device, iPhone, iPad, what have you. And for websites, if you don't have a website now, obviously I would highly encourage you to consider a website. I think most people on this call have their own websites for their companies and their businesses, but maybe you're looking to switch to a different platform, or you're looking at redoing your website, and in which case WordPress is one of the most popular platforms. 1/6 of all the websites in the world now run on WordPress, so I'd consider taking a look at that. You can go to WordPress.com, and for literally $100 or $200 a year, you can build a pretty nice website and they have literally dozens of themes to choose from, and many of the designs now are responsive design themes. Squarespace is another popular platform for websites, and again, there's dozens in this space, but WordPress and Squarespace are two of my favorites and two of the most prominent ones. We talked a little bit about this already, but mobile websites are so important now. Three of the companies that can help you take your existing website and make them mobile friendly, so that if someone pulls up your website abc.com on their mobile device, it'll automatically take your existing desktop friendly website and convert it into a mobile friendly website. So you might be in a situation where you don't have the time, the budget, or the interest in completely redoing your website at this point in time, but you do want to offer a mobile-friendly website. You can use one of these three services, and again, there's more, but these are three of the most popular ones that you can use, and they're pretty reasonably priced to basically take your existing website, give it a mobile version, and then offer that to your customers. So I would highly encourage you to consider the mobile option. If you're going to be starting from scratch with a brand new website and going to a new platform perhaps, make sure whatever platform you go to is either a mobile-friendly version, or even better, a responsive design version in that theme or template that you're using. Tint is a newer product that we are using now for, we have an Evanston Arts Buzz website, and basically what you're looking at here on the screen is literally the new homepage for the Arts Buzz website. And what's really neat about this is that it allows us to connect multiple social platforms, and then it basically, as soon as somebody tweets or does a Facebook post, it pulls in that post into this feed, and then basically within 15 minutes the page is refreshed, and you can see your post or Facebook post on here. So It's very visual. It's obviously extremely social media friendly. It's interesting. It's constantly being refreshed or updated. As long as the sources that you're pulling from the social media accounts that you've identified, as long as people are actively posting or tweeting on those accounts, it will automatically keep your homepage fresh. So that's another challenge that we see a lot with small business websites is that person might be wearing many different hats and doesn't always have time to be updating their website all the time. But if you are active on social media, this will automatically populate your homepage. And I know some of the pre-submitted questions that we received today from the registrants talked about that very issue of how do I automate some of this stuff, especially now that you've got to have these multiple channels of email and web and social. How do you automate some of this stuff to save time and then keep your different platforms fresh? I think one of the worst things you can probably do is have that Facebook page that hasn't been updated in 6 or 8 months. I think you're almost better off not having a Facebook page than having a presence that hasn't been touched in 6 months. Even though it just may have just been a time issue for you, you might be better off reconsidering. But hopefully in this webinar we can show you some tips and tricks and some ways to kind of automate some of that so you can keep your different platforms active. Storify is another product that we've used. Scoop It in parentheses there is another alternate version somewhat similar to Storify, but we love to use Storify for different things, especially when we do kind of these live tweeting events. So it might be a ward meeting, it might be a day that we spend with the police chief out and about in Evanston, or other community events like the 3-on-3 basketball tournament that we do at the Chandler Community Center. So after the event is over, and if we've live tweeted it using a hashtag, like in the example here, we used eTown Ward 8 and 9 for this particular ward meeting that we were live tweeting. That was the hashtag that we used, and then afterwards you can go into Storify and then create basically this very visual story, again social media friendly, and you can embed that into your website. And then also, or direct people to your Storify account. So it's just a really neat way, especially if you're taking pictures as you're live tweeting, for people to, if they miss that event live, or if they want to, see a recap of it, it's just a really neat way to go back and see the event as it unfolds on social media. I want to talk a little bit about Facebook groups as well. Jennifer Lasik, who is our new cultural arts coordinator here at the city, came to me and suggested, and it was a great idea on her part, basically she wanted to call it an Arts Wanted group, and it was basically for the folks in the arts community here in Evanston to be able to share different ideas or needs, or maybe they're looking for a drummer, they're looking for a photographer, or they're trying to sell a piece of artwork, or whatever it might be, that they could log into this Arts Wanted group, and different than a Facebook page, but actually a group, and I included the link there on how to add a group, facebook.com/add group. Anyone can start a group on any topic. You can have it set to be public, or where people have to ask for permission to join the group, or people can, or it can be kept as a private group, a totally private group. In this case, of course, we've got it open to anybody who wants to join. We have over 200 people now that have joined this Arts Wanted group. And one of the nice things I like about it is there's kind of this issue with organic reach, and we'll talk about this a little bit more further in the webinar, with Facebook pages. In many cases, when you post something on Facebook using your Facebook page, in some cases, maybe only 10 or 15% of your fans, or your likes, as they're now called, might see that. Whereas with the Arts Wanted group, in this case, anybody who's a member of the Arts Wanted group, when someone posts to this group, they're going to get a little notification, and then they can click on that notification. It brings them right to the Arts Wanted group, and they can see that particular post, and they can always scroll back. So let's say they join the group 3 months in, they can always scroll back to the beginning when the group was created and see everything that has occurred, and all the comments and the likes and the shares and so forth. So in this case, just this particular post was seen by 139 people, which, considering there's 200 people in the group, it's, you've got 2/3 organic reach on something like this. So we have found this to be pretty effective. We're also using it for Next Chapter Evanston, which I'll talk about in a moment. So let's talk a little bit about Facebook and some of the controversy that you may have seen here and there about Facebook, about organic reach. And essentially, in a nutshell, it's really, some people have portrayed it as this is a new thing or it's only happened in the last few months, but the reality is for at least the last 2 years, Facebook has been tweaking their algorithm, which decides what you see in your news feed. And the end result essentially is that organic reach is shrinking. So let's say you've got 100 Facebook fans and you post something on Facebook. Um, historically, maybe your post might have been seen by 30 or 40 people, so you would have 30 or 40% organic reach. Now we're seeing organic reach, dipping as low as 10%, 15%, maybe even lower, depending on the type of post. So basically, and really this is no different than the old days, like back in Google. When Google first launched, it was pretty easy to get on the first page of Google. If you had a nice website and you were using the right keywords and you had good content and it was fresh, lo and behold, you might find yourself on page 1 of Google results. Well, now the whole world is on the web, and Google is the web and the Google search engine is a much more crowded place now. So it's this constant battle of fighting for people's attention, whether it's in Google search results or the Facebook news feed. And in any given day, up to 1,500 different posts might be available to a particular Facebook user. And if Facebook were to send you every single post from every single user that you're friends with or that you've liked their page, the newsfeed would be completely overwhelming, and you probably wouldn't want to use Facebook. So nonetheless, they have to decide, which content basically succeeds and gets more exposure than others. And there's different factors that go involved. In fact, there's like literally hundreds of factors that are involved. And the end result is basically what we have found is historically we used to Facebook everything, like every piece of content that would come through our office we would put up on Facebook. And now we're being a little bit more careful and selective. And I think a recent study showed that of like the Fortune 500 brands, I think the most popular number of posts now is like down to 2 posts a day. And so what brands are doing is they're saving their best content, whether it's a great story or a great image or whatever it might be, and they're saving that as opposed to constantly putting out Facebook posts. A lot of those constant updates now have shifted more for just Twitter and less for Facebook. And this is just one example that we had a couple weeks ago where Time Out Chicago named Evanston the hottest dining area in the Chicago area. So we knew that this post would be pretty popular. It actually exceeded our expectations. For us as a city, we have a little over 5,000 fans or likes, and this particular post ended up getting over 7,700 people were reached, which is incredible. So basically, our organic reach was something like 130-some% or whatever. Clearly, this is not something we're not able to hit a home run every day, but this was just one example, and you can see on the screen it got on the post itself, it got 74 likes, 8 comments, and then the real key is that it got 28 shares, and that's what really helped take our audience from a potential pool of 5,000 fans to a much larger audience, and shared it with people. In many cases, was probably shared with people who were not even fans or likes of our page, and we did notice that we picked up some new fans and some new likes through this method. But you can see the number of link clicks that we received from this post, and I think part of it is it was a great honor by Time Out Chicago. We also had an appealing visual image to go along with it. And we're seeing more and more of that now too, where brands are getting rewarded for having high quality images in their news feeds. And it's interesting, on the personal side, Facebook is actually slightly penalizing personal users if they're using certain images, but on the brand side, brands are definitely getting rewarded. And make sure 2 quick things about Facebook that I don't want to forget is, in some cases in the early days of Facebook, some of the companies or small businesses created a Facebook profile that was a personal profile, not a page. Make sure that you actually are set up as a page profile so you're not in violation of terms and services. And plus it just functions better and you'll be able to get better analytics and so forth. And then also make sure you go to facebook.com/username. If you haven't done this already, make sure you've got that special vanity URL. So for example, for City of Evanston, you can go to facebook.com/City of Evanston, and it'll take you right to our Facebook page. Because when you first create that Facebook page, you might have a really crazy long URL for your Facebook address. But once you have, I think it's 25 fans, then you can go to facebook.com/username and make sure that you've got an easy to remember vanity URL. Let's talk a little bit about boosting posts. So we've been experimenting with this for several months now. Part of the challenge, again, as we talked about with the newsfeed changes and the algorithm changes, is Facebook now is a public company. They've gone IPO, so they've got to monetize more now than ever. And so part of the strategy too is to get people to increase their reach. So you've got organic reach, which is what people would naturally see in their news feed if you don't do anything, and then you've got paid reach. And so you can take an individual post, that post that I showed you before, since I knew that that was kind of going semi-viral, we didn't spend any money to boost that post. So that's 7,700 people that reached. That was everyone was able to see that. Whereas with the paid boosting or promotion, you can pick as little as $5 or $10, and you can also target certain people. So you can say, I want to target just our friends and people who are fans or friends with our fans, or you can get more specific and target people by zip code within a certain distance, and then also by certain interests and so forth. So you can really get kind of granular in how you target people. In most of our cases, we literally only spend like maybe $5 per post, and what we've seen is it may organically only reach 200 people, but by spending that $5, we all of a sudden get another 1,000 people. So instead of reaching 200 people, we're able to reach 1,200 people just by spending $5. The other way, and I know some people had asked about this, how can we get more page likes? Well, first of all, you want to make sure that on your website, I noticed some of the small businesses that we work with in Evanston, when you go to their website, they actually have no social media presence. Even though they actually are on Facebook and Twitter and maybe Pinterest and some other ones, they don't have the sharing icons or the like icons on their website. So make sure you're doing that so you can drive more people and pick up more likes and fans. But one of the things that we've noticed too is there was one point where I think we were at about 4,900 likes or fans, and we wanted to go ahead and get over 5,000, so we did an experiment. We spent $10 and did a promote page feature, which allowed us for $10 to add 70-some more likes or fans. So literally for 14, 15 cents. And it's going to vary depending on your industry and other factors. But for us, we found that we could get more likes or fans for as little as 15 cents a piece. So it seemed like a good value to us. LinkedIn is another platform that we definitely use here at the city. We are a little bit more careful insofar as what we post on LinkedIn, so we try to be respectful of all the different platforms, whether it's Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and try and think about what do those users want to see on their platform. So, for example, if we have some sort of road closure or something like that, we're probably not going to share that on LinkedIn unless it's really a significant event that's going to affect a number of people in Evanston. But for the most part, we try to stick to, when we post on LinkedIn, stories about economic development, job openings that we have. And there's two ways to post job openings. You can do kind of like what we did here on this page, where we basically just had a status update and a link to our website where we were advertising this particular position. Or you can actually pay to list positions in LinkedIn. Generally, it runs about $200 to $300, and then you can run that listing for 30 days. And I saw something the other day, a study that said about 3/4 of all the jobs now out there are getting listed on LinkedIn. So I would definitely encourage you, if you're trying to hire people and you're not getting enough applicants or the right quality of applicants, to consider maybe spending some money and doing a listing on LinkedIn. But what we've noticed is, even though we don't have, I think we have 700 and some followers on LinkedIn now, which is not a huge audience, but what we've noticed is that we've had actually pretty good interaction, whether it's people liking or commenting or sharing our status updates, especially when we have targeted stuff or really interesting stuff. So, and now I know LinkedIn is becoming more business friendly. They've improved the insights reporting on the back end, and they're becoming a little bit more like Facebook. Honestly, you also can sponsor updates now. I think it's more targeted for larger corporations. We haven't done that here yet, but we intend to kind of look at that more fully. I think they just crossed the 300 million person threshold. So if LinkedIn was a country, it would actually be one of the biggest countries in the world. So if you're not on LinkedIn, I would consider checking it out and creating not only a personal profile if you don't have one already, but also creating a company page as well. Twitter analytics, I wanted to mention this because sometimes it's a little bit hard to, many people when they're logged into Twitter don't even realize that these analytics are available to them. When you're logged into Twitter, you can actually go to that settings, that wheel icon, and click on Twitter ads, and I think that's why people don't even realize this stuff is back there, because if someone's not interested in running an ads, they kind of disregard that option. But if you click on Twitter ads, then you can go into here, and there's all kinds of different things, but most interestingly, you can go to your analytics tab, and you can take a look at your recent tweet activity, and you can sort it for different ways, and then see some of, try and do some comparing and contrasting, and figure out, what was it about this particular tweet that was more appealing or interesting to people, and you can see, some of these posts did really well, and part of it may also depend on the time of day, and I'll talk a little bit more about the best times to post and so forth. Actually, here's the next slide. It's best times to post, and there's all kinds of studies on this, and I think that that's one of the things that I want to share with everyone today is that more now than ever, now that we've been doing social for 5, 6, 7 years now, we've got all this data and all this analytics to basically take a look at and try and make this more of a science. And so sometimes there really truly are best practices, and there's all kinds of studies that talk about the best times and best days and so forth to post. This is one of the ones that I found that I felt that was most indicative of the studies that I've read. And so for Facebook and Twitter, you'll notice it's very similar. Facebook best times generally are from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., Twitter from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., and then you can see on the right-hand side some of the worst times, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Now we found in Facebook analytics that actually we still have pretty high activity till about 9 p.m. at Evanston, but I think there's definitely a drop-off after 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So, and then they say on here avoid posting on weekends, and I actually think that here at the city and other brands too can do more on the evenings and weekends, and you can leverage scheduling in Facebook now or HootSuite, which we'll talk about in a minute, to basically schedule stuff in advance so you're not having to spend your nights and weekends posting different material. And interestingly enough, LinkedIn was a little different than Facebook and Twitter here. You can see the best times for LinkedIn were kind of those early morning hours, 7 to 9 a.m., and then again from 5 to 6 p.m., which was kind of interesting that it's a little bit different. I know that I think Google Plus was actually more similar to LinkedIn than it was to Facebook and Twitter. So that's going to vary on the platforms, but it's also going to vary on your audiences too. And there's some free tools out there. If you want, you can contact me afterwards, and there's tools that will actually take all your Twitter followers, for example, and then kind of analyze when, for you in particular, when the best time might be for you to post based on your audience. Wanted to share this too. This is some of the ideal lengths for posts. Historically, I've always encouraged people to stay around 120 characters, even though for Twitter the length is the limit is 140 characters. I always encourage people to stay closer to 120 because it allowed people to make a quick comment if they're retweeting, and gives them a little bit of room to work with. But some of the statistics have shown that actually even closer to 100 characters, which is only about 20 words, is often the ideal length for a tweet. So definitely short and sweet when it comes to Twitter. Facebook surprisingly was similar too. Ideally, only about 16 words is really the best. Now, of course, we don't follow these rules exactly. I mean, sometimes we're just we're going to have longer posts, and also even when it comes to the posting times, just because 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 p.m. are some of the best times for Twitter and Facebook, we might hold something that's not time sensitive, but certainly if there's a snow emergency or a parking ban or something like that, clearly we're not going to wait a few hours because that might be the best window of time. If it's an important enough event or post or news story, we're going to post it at 10 in the morning, even if that's not technically the peak of traffic, because ultimately that post will probably get likes and comments and shares, and so we'll have a longer shelf life than a kind of a boring post that we might do at 10 in the morning. And that's one of the keys is, again, trying to find that post that's going to be shareable. And what you see typically is that those first 1 to 3 hours is when you'll see 90% or more of your engagement. You pretty much know after about a 3-hour time window whether or not that post or that tweet is going to have legs or not. The ideal length of a headline is 6 words. Users typically read the first 3 and last 3 words of a headline, and you'll see that it also two bullets down, you'll see ideal length of an email subject is roughly 5 to 8 words. So those pretty much coincide. I saw something yesterday that said 6 to 10 words for email subject lines. So somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to maybe 8 words is most ideal for email subject lines and headlines. And then blog posts, somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 to 1,600 words, or roughly a 7-minute read, which kind of surprised me a little bit. That seems a little bit long as far as what we're used to, but that was statistically the most popular. And then the ideal width of a paragraph is about 8 to 11 words, and the ideal length of a seminar, which is kind of interesting, is 18 minutes. And for those of you that have watched TED Talks, you know that TED Talks are limited to 18 minutes. And HootSuite is a program that we use here quite a bit. We use it basically, this is kind of their famous dashboard. One of the cool things about HootSuite, it's a freemium model, so you can start with a free package, and I always recommend people get started with the free package and try it out and see how it works for them. And then once, if they're happy with it, then they can continue on and upgrade for the next plan up, which is only about $9 or $10 a month, and it gives you additional analytics and some other features. But we use this to manage many of our social media accounts. We've got a number of Twitter accounts. You can also connect your Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+. And just real quickly about Google+, we do have a Google+ page that we set up. Of course, it's free to set up. But one of the reasons we don't spend a whole lot of time on that platform, but we do share many of our status updates. As long as we're sharing on Facebook and Twitter and other platforms, it's pretty easy within HootSuite to go ahead and share on that Google+ platform too, and you get the search engine optimization benefit of Google+, since it's tied in with Google search. So I would encourage people to consider Google+, if for no other reason, for some of the SEO benefits. And there's been some talk about Google+'s future, but the reality is hundreds of millions of people have Gmail accounts, and so consequently they also have Google+ accounts. Whether or not they're actively using them or engaging is maybe a different story. But I think Google's tried social multiple times, but I think they've got it right or close to right on this one with Google+. And right now, one of the neat things about Google+ is that every Google+ post that you share will be seen by your followers. They're not doing the newsfeed curation that Facebook's doing. So that's one advantage of Google+. And that's also another advantage of Instagram. For those that are thinking about Instagram, the engagement rates that we're seeing, I know Jonathan touched on Instagram a little bit, but the engagement rates that we're seeing on Instagram are so much higher than Facebook and Twitter. So definitely, especially if you're interested in a younger audience, Instagram is huge. Facebook did purchase Instagram, but they have not really messed with the platform. I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens in the next 2 to 3 years. But right now, Instagram is a great platform to connect with people, engage with them, and share interesting pictures and stories. I also wanted to mention just a couple of resources quickly too about Next Chapter at Evanston. This is a partnership that we are doing with the Evanston Public Library, and basically this is one of the great things about Evanston. There's so many interesting people and experts here in Evanston, and so basically through the Evanston Public Library, we are recruiting speakers to come and speak there. They do it for free. And usually sometimes it's a lunch hour, sometimes it's after work. And they speak on all kinds of different topics, whether it's digital marketing or small business and legal issues or financial planning, all kinds of different topics. So I encourage you to check out the website nextchapterevanston.com if you're interested in learning from these experts here in Evanston. I also wanted to mention Doug over at Northwestern University. He's their Director of Digital and Social Communications. You can follow him on Twitter. That's his Twitter handle there. He's really good at this stuff, and I think Northwestern does a nice job, and he's one of the reasons. So I would encourage you to follow him on Twitter and follow some of the activities that Northwestern is doing on Facebook and Twitter. These are just some additional resources too. HootSuite we've talked about. They have an excellent blog. Buffer App is a competitor to HootSuite, and they have a terrific blog where they talk about a lot of the science behind social media that we've talked about. HubSpot is a marketing automation tool, one of the most popular ones. There's a few of them out there that's kind of more for higher end stuff. where it does kind of like all-in-one type solutions, but they also have an interesting academy that you can check out. And then also Treehouse and lynda.com, some of you might be familiar with. They have topics on all kinds of issues, whether it's SEO, digital marketing, web stuff. I would encourage you to check out, and I think both of them have free trials that you can leverage. I wanted to take a couple minutes here to do, if my internet cooperates here, kind of a quick behind-the-scenes live look at our HootSuite dashboard, for example. So just to dig a little bit deeper into HootSuite, because I know some people are specifically interested in how do I manage all these accounts and how do I save time and so forth. So this is, again, the HootSuite dashboard. In the upper left corner is typically where you would type your message. And you put, so let's say you want to, we'll just put a test post in here, and then let's say you've got a particular news story that you wanted to share. You can basically grab a URL here, and then you can paste it into the hyperlink box here, and then click shrink. And one of the advantages is not only does it shrink your URL, and so when people click on this, it's an OWL link, which is HootSuite's version of a URL shortener. Some of you might be familiar with Bitly. But one of the advantages is not only saving you character space, but it's also tracking analytics. So after the fact, you can go back and look, did 10 people click on this, 100 people click on this link after the fact. So you can do your test message here. You can pick your social media platforms over here. So we've got a number of our different accounts here. So this is our main city Twitter account. Let's say we also want to share this on Google Plus and maybe our LinkedIn profile too. And so you can type your message here. You can attach images or files to this post here. This is one of the reasons I started using HootSuite way back in, I think it was 2009, so about 5 years ago now. You can do scheduling. So, and this is really key, again, for people who are really busy on the go and don't have time to be logging in and out of social media accounts every day or even every hour. You can basically decide, okay, we're going to send this post out on Friday, March 2nd, for example, or Friday, May 2nd, and we're going to send this out at 3:05 p.m. And then you can click schedule, and then this post will then populate over here in our scheduled tweets column, and you'll see our test message, which are with our link. And if you click on that OWL link, it takes you to that URL that we created. And if I actually typically schedule a lot of our stuff. Even if I want it to go out in the next 10 or 15 minutes, I'll go ahead and schedule it in HootSuite just so I can see what the post is going to look like and make sure that the URL is working. You can also go and click edit, and then you can readjust. If there's something you don't like, if you want to choose a different thumbnail image that was pulled from that URL, if you want to add additional social media platforms or adjust your message and so forth, you can do that from here. So you can see we've got some tweets that are already set up, ready to go further out in advance on May 8th and May 13th. And you can do this and leverage, especially those nights and weekends where you probably don't want to be spending your time on the social media platforms. You can schedule stuff in advance here. You can add your location. You can set privacy options. You can also, if you're getting interrupted, you can click save and then save that message that you're working on, save it as a draft message. If you don't want to do the scheduling, you can send that out right away. Again, that's our URL shortener over there. And then these are, again, our different platforms here, our different accounts. And depending on the nature of the subject, we'll kind of determine what different platforms we put in here. But there's lots of different flexibility here. And then you can, across the top here, you'll see these different tabs. And so this is like, for example, we have a City of Evanston Twitter Beach account. So if you click on this tab, then you can see within this tab, there's different streams, they call them. So you've got a home feed stream, you've got a mentions, you've got your sent tweets and so forth. So if I go back to our main City of Evanston Twitter account, you'll see our home feed here, mentions, and mentions is basically any time where our Twitter handle is mentioned. So in this case, this person mentioned our city Twitter handle account. What's neat too is within Hootsuite you can click on any Twitter handle and you can take a look at that user. You can see how many followers they have, how many updates, their clout score. And clout, that's a really high clout score. Clout is basically a social media influence measurement. So from 1 to 100 is the scale, and in this case, World Health Organization has a really high clout score. So basically it's a measurement of their influence, and in part it is who they are, but also the fact that they have over 1 million followers. You can click on the timeline feature and see the different updates that they've sent out, any cases where they have been mentioned in different tweets, and then also favorites. And I wanted to mention too, especially more recently, we try to do lots of we always have tried to reply to people if they mention us, even if they don't mention us directly. We'll follow this stream over here, this Evanston stream. So anytime the word Evanston is mentioned in a stream, and sometimes we miss stuff because there's so many tweets, and there's also an Evanston, Wyoming, and an Evanston neighborhood in Toronto, and so forth. But we try to keep up as much as we can and monitor the conversations. In many cases, someone might say, this is a really icy sidewalk in Evanston on Chicago Avenue. And even though they're not directly talking to us or using our Twitter handle, we'll try and pick up on those conversations and reply and try and help from a customer service standpoint, maybe share that with the 311 center and do that right here from HootSuite. Any particular user here, you can actually you can click reply, you can retweet right from here, you can send them a direct message. So if both parties are following each other on Twitter, you can do a direct message. And sometimes if we're asking someone what their address is or something along those lines that's more private, we'll often ask them to send us a direct message. So we'll follow them and they'll follow us back, and then we'll do a direct message that way. You can do a reply all, you can do a favorite. I wanted to mention that we've been doing a lot of situations where we'll favorite stuff, either because we want to save that and maybe read it later, but more likely because someone mentioned us or said something nice. It didn't necessarily merit a retweet or a reply, but we definitely wanted to do a favorite. You can also do a send to email, which is really neat because then it'll package up that tweet, and then you can immediately share it via email, whether it's Outlook or Gmail or whatnot. There's even, if you are part of a social media team, you can assign tweets to somebody to follow up with, and then you can also have conversations with team members within HootSuite. I think both those features are available in that $10 a month plan that I mentioned earlier. So you can see our different streams here. This is the home feed is basically everybody that we're following on Twitter. Mentions, again, is when our Twitter handle is mentioned. These are our sent tweets here, and then these are any mentions of Evanston. And then further along here, you can see in another stream here what tweets are scheduled to go out, which of our tweets have been retweeted by other users, and you can even click on this here and you can see which users have retweeted our stuff. And we definitely try to, whether it's the Chamber or Downtown Evanston or other Evanston businesses, whenever we think that there's a tweet that's of value, we definitely try and retweet that. Here you can see some of our tweets that we've favorited, direct messages, and then you can also create a new follower column too. So if you want to thank people for following you on Twitter, you can create that new follower column. It's an easy way to be able to follow along with who's recently added you on Twitter. And then you can also follow specific hashtags too within HootSuite. So it's a really powerful program, and it's been a lifesaver for us, especially with the number of accounts that we have and the conversations that we're trying to monitor, but then also do it in a responsible fashion that we're not spending. We have lots of other duties and things that we do here on the web and other places, so we want to do it in a basically make the best use of our time. So I wanted to do that quick HootSuite demo to give you kind of a behind-the-scenes feel for that. I think at this point we want to probably go ahead and open up for questions. So if in your control panels on your webinar screen in the upper right-hand corner, there should be a way for you to be able to submit a question. I think we've had a few questions now, so we'll go ahead and take a look at and see what questions people might have. Somebody's asking whether or not it's possible to watch this seminar again, and I failed to mention at the beginning of the webinar that we are recording this webinar. So after this webinar, you'll receive a follow-up email, and in the follow-up email will be a link to this webinar. So if you have other folks that you want to share this webinar with, or if you want to watch it again, we will make that available for folks to watch. If you have like Windows Media player or whatnot, you'll be able to watch the webinar. So someone here is asking about how long do you wait after posting before promoting, and have you seen a drop in the organic reach of your post as a result of using the promotion options? So I think it's a great question. So what we often do is we'll wait kind of that 1 to 3 hour time period to see whether or not this post is going to take off, like that Time Out Chicago one, or we had one more recently. There was a real estate blog that named Evanston the most exciting place in Illinois, and that one actually ended up getting over 100% organic reach. So in that case, both of those posts, we knew that we weren't going to have to boost it, but we definitely do, if there's a post that we feel is really important, but we know that it might not be the sexiest post, and we know that it's not probably going to take off from a viral standpoint, then we'll go ahead and boost it. Sometimes I'll boost something right away, like for example, if we're doing a snow emergency or a parking emergency, and we know we want to get maximum exposure for that, I know immediately I need to get coverage on that post. So we'll go ahead and boost the post immediately. There's other posts where we kind of wait and see what kind of reach it's going to have, and wait that with that 1 to 3 hour window, and if it's not picking up and getting the organic reach that we want, then we'll go ahead and boost it. And literally it's usually $5 and sometimes maybe $10 that we're spending, so it's really relatively small amounts of money, and we're not doing it on every post, and we've also kind of cut back on the number of posts to kind of just basically promote the highest quality content. I think this person's also asking, have we seen a decline in the organic reach? I don't think that there's any. Some people probably feel that there is. I don't think that there's any correlation, in my opinion, whether or not you promote stuff or not. Obviously, if you promote it, you are going to get a guaranteed reach. But I don't think if you don't promote something later, or the next day or the next week or the next month, I don't think it's going to impact your organic reach. Another person here is asking, in HootSuite, I found that photos don't show up in Facebook posts. Do you have to upgrade to a paid account to make this work? I have found, to be honest, we used to post to Facebook from HootSuite, and then I don't know if it was several months ago or a year ago, we kind of stopped doing that because I feel that organically just posting, especially with photos and images, that it works better right from Facebook. And now Facebook has the ability, and I'll go ahead and pull up Facebook real quick here just to show you. And by the way, for those that might be interested in promoting your page and getting likes, that's what this promote page is about. Basically, you can click that button, and then it'll package up a sample ad for you. You can do targeting, whether it's based on interests, age, and other factors, and then you can run that ad to try and get some additional Facebook coverage and likes and fans. But I found that basically posting in Facebook, and now they've added this option over here, this little clock option. So if you click on this, you can actually schedule a post. This didn't used to be the case in Facebook, and that was one of the reasons that people were using HootSuite for Twitter and for Facebook, is for that scheduling feature. Now that Facebook has added that feature, and then I found that it seems to work better, just posts in general seem to behave better, especially images and photos from within Facebook. So now I basically post everything natively from within Facebook, and I save HootSuite more for Google+, LinkedIn, Twitter, and so forth. Someone else is asking, who is the contact of the city if we have more questions in the future? Maybe for the purposes of this, go ahead and send any questions or follow-up to webmaster@cityofevanston.org, and depending on the nature of the question, I might share it with Jonathan, or it might be something for me, or even Elaine. So feel free to just go ahead and use webmaster@cityofevanston.org. We definitely want to be a resource to everybody on this call, and help you in any way we can. And one of the challenges with this type of webinar is some people on this call are totally brand new to social media, and other people are kind of power users, so it's hard to strike the right balance. And that's why we're going to do 4 weeks from today, actually, on May 29th, we're going to do kind of an advanced version of this webinar where we dig a little bit deeper on ads and insights and analytics, and then also we want to touch on some of the work that we've done in Pinterest and Instagram, and probably a little bit more on Tumblr as well. to kind of cover those topics, since today was a little bit more focused on Facebook and Twitter.
If I can add something, I just wanted to mention that the Chamber is another tool for your business, and it's a great way to access over 472 business owners who are in different stages of development, and a lot of great people have made relationships and become clients and customers of each other, and they form lasting relationships. And another thing we found, too, is that we have lunch and learn events monthly, and we also have an Engage and Inform series where we just had something on Google Analytics. But we had even a fun event where everybody came and just shared their favorite app. And everybody was so quick to share, this works for me, this works for my business. So I hope you can think about the Chamber as a business tool. And some of our business owners are the ones who are speaking at Next Chapter as well. So I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that.
Yeah, that's a great point. There's a lot of crossover, and the folks that are active in the Chamber are also many of the speakers at Next Chapter. And I've also attended some of the lunch and learn sessions that the Chamber's put on, and the one that I went to, it was excellent. So I definitely encourage people to consider that option too. So thank you, Elaine, for mentioning that.
Okay.
Thelma is asking about, I noticed you have several staff posting on Twitter, which is good to keep it fresh. How many staff, or can you recommend how many people should be allowed to post? That's a really great question. That's one of the challenges now. In the old days, like, and when I mean old days, I mean like 5 years ago, a city of Evanston type organization of our size, there probably was, there's only one person maybe that was doing all the social media for the entire city, and now it's totally changed. And now we have accounts. Our Parks and Rec has a Facebook and Twitter, and all of our various different departments, many of them have their own social media accounts. And so it's essentially impossible for only one person or two people to do. And so we've kind of basically democratized everything. And so now, even in our Parks and Rec department, there might be 7 or 8 or 9 people that have access to the Twitter and Facebook accounts, and they might be at different community centers and sharing different content. So it's hard to pinpoint an exact number. I think the one thing that you want to do, and you can work with your team or your staff, is to develop some basic guidelines, and then also you want to try and kind of craft your own voice. So, and you want to have some sort of continuity. So I think you have to decide whether that's 3 or 4 or 5 people that you feel that you can still kind of have some sort of roughly a common voice, but then also use some consistency so that one person isn't posting a totally different way than another person. I think that's probably helpful in the longer run. So if it's a smaller organization, maybe everybody has access to Facebook and Twitter, and that way, whether they're at an event or it's a night or weekend and they're at home, they have the flexibility to be able to post. What you don't want to have is a situation where someone is kind of the gatekeeper and that everybody has to send their idea or their post or their tweet through one person. It kind of kills the spontaneity of it. It kind of creates bottlenecks, and it's perhaps a lot less authentic that way as well. Another question here, may have missed this, if the Facebook recommendation is 2 posts per day, what's the recommended frequency for Twitter, Instagram, and so forth? Terrific question. And that was the 2 posts per day. Obviously, some people are going to want to do more than that, and that's fine. And occasionally we might do more than that. That's kind of some of the guidelines that I've been seeing more recently. Some of the major brands, the Fortune 1000 types, are being much more selective on their posts. But as far as Twitter and Instagram, I saw that I want to say the same study that talked about the 2 posts for Facebook. I think they were talking about somewhere in the range of like 8 to 12 tweets, which is a lot. And obviously, if you're a small business, you're not going to be doing 8 to 12. But basically, they were saying at some point there is kind of a drop-off once you get beyond maybe 10 or 12 tweets, where then you can start to worry about, am I tweeting too much for my audience? It's a totally different situation on Twitter, in my opinion, than it is on Facebook. On Facebook, I think you really truly can bombard people with too many posts. On Twitter, it's totally different, the way that it's structured and what people are used to and so forth. So I really wouldn't be worried about posting too much on Twitter. And in many cases, I encourage you to post if you have a major event coming up. Don't tweet just once about it. You probably want to tweet 3 times about it in the next 3 or 5 days or whatever, because in many cases your audience may have missed that first tweet or two. So, and with Instagram, I would say Instagram's probably a cross between Facebook and Twitter. You probably can do more posting than you do on Facebook, but not as much as Twitter, at least in my opinion. And there's no hard and fast rules. It's just kind of my own personal opinions. Jonathan, did Jonathan say we can send in press releases and other info we'd like to share to Evanston Edge and be placed on the site? And that is correct. So feel free to do that. Jonathan, your email is J Williams Kinzel. That's KINSEL at cityofelvanston.org. Okay, great. So, and then we also shared that link in the beginning of the presentation where people can share that info. So we definitely encourage you to do that, and we definitely want to work with you on that. Is it worth learning Google Analytics? So someone asked that question. Elaine, did you want to talk about Google Analytics and the value of that?
Yeah, I think it's very important to do that. And if you don't have time to do it, there's lots of people that we found it very useful to come to a lunch and learn on it. It helps you determine, where you are in standings, how the public is seeing you, how often, it's just very important. It's another thing to help you with your marketing plan and strategies to grow your business.
Yeah, and I think touching on the Google Analytics, you want to know where your folks are coming from, and I don't think I didn't have the chart in today's webinar, but I think the website's called Shareaholic, and basically we were talking about referrals, and like Facebook is just like through the roof. The number of referrals that people are getting to their website from Facebook. Facebook is bigger than all the other platforms combined. The only other one that was significant was Pinterest. So that's why we want to talk more about Pinterest in our upcoming webinar because we think it's a pretty powerful platform, not only to target women in particular. About 2/3 of Pinterest users are women, but especially around the holiday season, Pinterest is just kind of through the roof. So we want to talk about that. But thank you, Elaine, for your thoughts on Google Analytics. Another question here, do you have any specific suggestions on the type of posts that are best on Facebook versus Twitter versus Instagram, beyond the fact that Instagram is for pictures? Any thoughts on sharing between the platforms? Like, for example, on our Facebook page today, we wanted to share this story about beach tokens, and instead of just putting out a post on our Facebook page about, it's time to buy beach tokens, we wanted to do something a little bit more interesting. We do have a link to the story on our website, of course, but we also asked people, what's your favorite Evanston beach? And people love, being asked questions, and Facebook's a really great platform to do that. We've even used Facebook to do town halls with our city manager and with our mayor as a way to kind of engage and allow people to ask questions directly to the city manager or to the mayor. I think it's going to depend. I think Facebook is better than Twitter as far as like telling a story or sharing an image. Obviously, Instagram is huge on images too, whereas Twitter is more of a little bit more of an information sharing, at least in my opinion. It's kind of like the difference between your you got your kind of like the social graph, which is Facebook, and then you've got this interest graph. So you might be, the people that you're friends with on Facebook and the brands you follow, there might be a more personal connection, whereas on Twitter it's more of a professional or an interest connection. So I think if you're sharing, whether it's an interesting article or a white paper or something like that, that's probably better suited on Twitter, in my opinion, than on Facebook. Obviously, there's going to be some content that works great on all platforms. But it's a great question. It's a little bit hard to answer because it just kind of depends on the situation and the content. Another question, ZipWhip, which is the one we talked about, being able to send text messages to landlines. That's the product. Seems to be just for Android phones. Is there a comparable app for iPhones? Yes, and I have an iPhone, and I did download the ZipWhip app on my iPhone, and it works pretty well. So I would encourage people to check out ZipWhip, especially that first package. I think it's only like $19 a month, and they do have apps for iPhone and Android. Another question here, couldn't you talk a bit more about how the city is using Tumblr for blogging? So the Evanston, we've launched that Evanston PD Tumblr blog as a way to, we've got this great content from this person that's doing really good work at these weekly deployment meetings, but if we just take the text and the content and put it on a standard web page on our website, it's just not as interesting. So we wanted to find a home for it that would be able to better showcase, especially if we have images that we can add to it, make it more interesting and more appealing. Tumblr is mobile friendly. Plus, Tumblr also has like this built-in audience, so and it's also a younger audience too. So there's always the possibility that by being on Tumblr, not everybody's hanging out on the City of Evanston website all day, every day, unfortunately. So we're trying to kind of go where the folks are, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr in this case. And so you kind of got that built-in community with Tumblr, and we're hoping that will further enhance the content that we're doing with the police department. And then also we're working on a more general City of Evanston Tumblr blog that we hope to launch in the next week or so. And basically every time that we do kind of one of our standard news feeds, news stories, here on our website in the center part, we've got these news stories. We want to also be able to share that news story on our Tumblr blog. Again, not everyone's going to be on our website all the time, but they might follow us on Tumblr, or they may pick up on it doing a search, and then landing on the Tumblr blog. So it just kind of gives us another platform, another audience. We're going to automate it. I wanted to mention this earlier, but there's a program called IFTT, so it's IFTT triple T, so 3Ts.com. It's a free service, and you can do all kinds of cool things with it. So you can say, every time somebody tags me on Facebook, send me a text message. And you can they're called recipes. You can use someone else's recipe that's already been created, and then you just, you connect your accounts and it works. Or you can create your own recipe, and there's fun stuff you can do with it, but there's also kind of automation and other interesting things that you can do with it. So I would encourage people to check out IFTTT.com. But we're going to basically set it up so that every time there's a news story or news feed article, it will also cross-post to our Tumblr account. And HootSuite also offers some of those automation abilities too. Another question here is, there are things on Facebook and Twitter such as Throwback Thursday that I see businesses utilize. It seems it can be a bit professional at times, so what methods do you suggest using not to make them seem so casual and more business-like? I think social media inherently is definitely clearly more casual. I mean, you see that in the posts, in the content that people use. It is definitely more informal. I think Throwback Thursdays, we do some of that here. We have done Throwback Thursday type stuff here, where maybe we'll pick an old picture of old time Evanston and post that for people, or maybe we'll post something and we'll try and ask people to guess, where this is in the city, that type of thing. And I think as long as you're having fun, I think there is a balance between having fun and then remaining professional. I would say when in doubt, if you're going to err on one side or the other, go ahead and try and be a little bit more fun and more casual. I think that's kind of the nature of where we're going with this. I mean, clearly we're government, so we've got to be a little more cautious than other brands might have to be. But I think you can still be fun and interesting while remaining professional and business-like. So I hope that kind of answers that question. Elaine, do you have any other further thoughts that you wanted to add or ideas?
Well, we're using Throwback Thursdays, and we're having fun with it. And we give away a little prize. We have a lot of restaurants that provide gift cards for us, and so if somebody guesses it, we give them a gift card, which brings people into their restaurant. So we find that a lot of fun, and I think that just engaging people. Like, we have one client, she's an organizer, so she's always looking for items that will help somebody's life and make it more organized. So she's looking for products, and sometimes she tweets something that she thinks would organize someone to her clients, and then they respond back that I could use that, or I'd like to, talk to me more about that. So there are unusual ways that people are using the social media to enhance their business.
Elaine's a great resource on this as well. She's got a perspective that's even different than ours. So if you want to follow up with Elaine too, if I got this right, Elaine, it's Elaine at evchamber.com, right?
That's right.
Okay. And then I forgot the name of your assistant at the chamber who's also social media
Oh,
savvy.
Jessica Vandenberg is our manager of administration, and she does a lot of our social media. So I call her my secret weapon. So she does a really great job. And our members are you know, they're posting things that are of interest to people. They're not posting commercials. They're posting important things that people want to know, or fun things that people want to share, or they're asking questions, and that seems to work better. Because, like I said, everybody's looking at their phone, so you know they're looking at their phone, and you have to put a really quick little enticing message for them to click on.
I think that's a great point. I think sometimes business owners and marketers are a little too much like push, 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 like we're having a sale, we're doing, you know, and sometimes you got to offer something interesting, something of value, ask a question, and do a little bit more of that. And then I think people are more likely to respond when you do ask them, you know, kind of ask for that call to action or whatever.
Right.
Okay, well, great. It's 2:17, so we're right on time here for our 75-minute webinar. So thank you so much, Elaine, for joining us and offering your insight from your perspective and your work with Chamber. And thank you also to Jonathan at the City of Evanston. He did a great job outlining what's available from a city perspective. So please utilize our resources. Feel free to email Elaine or us, Jonathan and I, at webmaster@cityofevanston.org. And thank you to everyone for joining us.
Okay.
Oh, and don't forget to join us for May 29th for our advanced social media. We'll send out a link for that as well.
Okay.